so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life? Well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a few sponsors that not only help to make it possible to produce this show 5 days a week, but that I'm also genuinely passionate about promoting, especially since they're helping to fund all the cool projects we have in the works, such as the Positive Head app, the docuseries that I'm intending to begin shooting within the next year, and whatever else we dream up over here at Positive Headquarters to help spread consciousness across the planet. Now, if you're short on time or just super excited for today's topic and want to dive right in and skip these ads, feel free to fast forward about
4 minutes
to get right into today's show. That being said, I strongly encourage you to listen because the reason I'm passionate about my sponsors is because they've made a huge impact in my own life, which is why I've aligned with these organizations. And I firmly believe they can do the same for you too. The first longtime stellar supporter of the show that I want to mention is Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online with over 8,000 video titles. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. The second sponsor I'm extremely passionate about promoting is Purium. It's no mystery that bringing your mind, body, and spirit into balance is necessary if a person truly intends to manifest the greatest and greatest version of themselves. And as of recording this, it's been about 4 months since I started taking the Purium Core 4 superfood products every day. And I can honestly and sincerely say my mind, body, and spirit have never felt more in alignment. If you've been looking for a way to easily get superfoods into your system every day with a simple plan that can help you reestablish a healthier foundation and relationship with food, I cannot recommend for you to start with the Purium 40-Day Ultimate Nutrition Plan, which includes a 10-day metabolic reset and cleanse enough. I spent personally months researching Purium before I jumped in, and now myself and over 150 other positive heads have started with the 40-Day Ultimate Nutrition Plan, and many of us have continued taking the Core 4 products on an ongoing basis daily ever since. I personally intend to take them for the rest of my life because they played a huge role transforming my vibrational state. If you decide to do it, it'll cost you just over $7 a day for the first 40 days and only about $5 a day after. But if you do it the way that I recommend you to do it, the smartest and most beneficial way, it won't cost you anything. I recommend you to just look at where you can reallocate money you are already spending on food each day. Essentially, you're just going to swap out the unhealthiest stuff you're in the habit of purchasing in exchange for Purium superfoods. And this way, it costs you nothing to participate in the transformation and cleanse. And it creates exponential benefit because now you've replaced something that lowers your vibration with something that is going to make you feel super high in the healthiest kind of way. Just take a few minutes, see where you can cut out $5 to $7 a day and commit to doing it. It's that simple. Also, for support, we'll be doing a big group transformation with other positive heads and soul family once each month for support. So I recommend, going right now, ordering your 40-day Ultimate Nutrition Plan bundle so that you have it when the next group transformation starts. Procrastination is not your friend. Order it now. You can thank me later, because I can assure you, you will not be sorry you've decided to send a message to the universe that you're ready to step up your vibrational game and reclaim your health sovereignty. Just head over to ishoppurium.com. That's spelled ISHOPPURIUM.com. Be sure to use the code POSITIVEHEAD, all one word, for either $50 off or a 25% discount, whichever is greater. And also, if you want to learn more details about the Purium products, why I'm so passionate about promoting them beforehand, you can go check out several videos I shot discussing these things in greater detail. You can also hear my interview with the very inspiring founder, David Sandoval. Much, much more over at positivehead.com/transformation. All right, all you positive heads, welcome. It is a fabulous Thursday. Yes, I said fabulous, THA. Oh, gosh. Brian, you got to laugh at. I have Brian here with me, and I have someone he's supposed to laugh at my really bad jokes instead of me just laughing at them
quietly. I didn't want to blast over you there, man. I love it. It is a fabulous Thursday for sure.
Fabulous. Oh, man. Okay, so speaking of fabulous, we have Brian Ridgway here today, who swung by to co-host. And, for those of you who haven't heard, Brian was on episode 812 a couple weeks ago, and so much feedback from listeners, Brian, to your episode. Such a mixed bag of, most of it all really good, but also some sort of unsettled stuff that came up for people. So it kept circling back around. I kept hearing so much about it, and I wanted to, of course, I reached out to you and said, hey, why don't you just do a quick swing by, co-host, mini powwow, and we can address, because I started to answer one of the questions. I was like, what, even better, I'll just get Brian to come back on. So, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and clarify and answer some of these questions and feedback that I've been getting from all the feathers you ruffled.
I am really excited to do it, man. I've been hearing a lot of feedback too, and I understand both sides of that feedback. So yeah, man, let's see what we can do to help some people.
Yeah. So I'm going to read a couple, actually one post in the Positive Heads Facebook group, just not even, an hour or so ago. And by the way, for those of you who aren't in the group, it's Positive Heads with an S. It's a great place to connect with other listeners. It's private, so you can open up about personal things you might not want, out there on Facebook land, publicly. But we would love to see your bright, shiny face in there. But one just came in like an hour ago. I'm going to read two different things because it gives examples of what I've been hearing a lot of. And once again, if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend going back and checking out episode 812, where, Brian was originally on. But this one came from GK in the Facebook group, and G said, "Good morning, everyone. Ever since I listened to episode 812 with Brian Ridgway, I've basically been obsessed with it. I've literally spent 10 hours on that single podcast, listening to it every day. I've also downloaded his ebook, got near the end now. The book has been amazing. The insights I've gotten have been amazing. To be fair, I have read books and watched videos that also touch on the same subject, but this is different. I can go on and on about how wonderful the book has been and how I know that Brian will be the biggest catalyst for my personal awakening or remembering, but I'll leave this post as short as possible. I felt I've known much of what this book is about from my self and spiritual development progress, but the way he puts it spoke to me on another level. I'd never read of these spells he discusses, and I feel that was a huge missing key to unlocking the truth of who I really am. I've watched some of his spell breaks now and actually had a moment of infinite clarity during one. I will eagerly watch as many of them as I can find now. Once again, I could go on and on, but I'll leave it at this and see if others here have felt anything similar. Thank you, Brandon and Brian, for everything you do. I love you all. So that was one that just like literally an hour ago, 50 minutes ago. Now, here's another one that's a slightly different tone that I got, 3 days ago. And this one came from Kristen. And Kristen said, "Hello, Brandon. After many, many years of searching, Brian Ridgway's interview last week made it all make sense. But my problem is, and I'm not exaggerating at all when I say that I'm feeling like I'm not myself anymore and I'm scared to death. His words sent me into the stratosphere, literally. It's like they were a trigger to derealization or depersonalization. My question is, when you first learned about this, did you experience a shift in your mental state? I'm usually fine with shifts, but this one is scaring me because I feel removed from everything and everybody. I think I'd listened to his words in a vulnerable state when I didn't realize that possibly I wasn't ready for something like that. Now I can't unhear it, and I'm very concerned for my well-being. I'm really hoping that you can share some wisdom with me to help ground me and get me balanced again. I really like me. I want me back." Thank you, Brandon. Have a beautiful day. And Christine. And so that's the type of feedback, Brian, that you've stirred up around the P-Head Posse land. And so I wanted to just, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of short notice, jump on today's episode and sort of address some of this feedback in questions, concerns, etc. What are your instant thoughts to either of these two, listeners?
Yeah, well, I love both, and I can relate to both completely. And people find me and the work that I do, obviously, at different levels of awareness, different levels of readiness, different levels of curiosity. And my first instinct is to go straight into helping Kristen first.
Right.
To start to get some relief from this. Because I will say that I had probably a dozen people that private messaged me from the Positive Head group and friending me and saying, a few of them said similar things. What the hell did you do to me, Brian? Like, where did I go? And so here's the thing. In the book, I provide some tools. Now, let's remember, lest anyone feel pitched in any way, the book is free. It's a #1 international bestseller in multiple categories, and it is 100% free gift. It comes along with several videos that G was referring to that I actually walk people through spell breaks. And for a lot of people, just watching those videos is enough that they'll settle. And I like, so going into helping you, Kristen, and anyone else who might have felt similarly, or maybe, hearing it now, you may have an experience of, wait, I am launching here and I didn't take any psychedelics. Why am I launching? And how do I get back on the ground? So here's the thing. You actually are that infinite, unlimited source. You've known it mentally for a very, very long time, or you wouldn't be even listening to Brandon's podcast, right? You're an infinite, unlimited being. However, to know it mentally is literally about as valuable as to know mentally that you're an orange or a cupcake. You can believe you're anything, but that doesn't really change anything. It's when
what if you're an orange? What if you believe you're an orange cupcake? Does that level it up at all?
That is actually illegal in almost every state. So I don't want to go into that lest we stir.
Yeah, we don't pitch things on the show that are going to cause the authorities to start paying attention.
Yeah, we don't even want to go there, right?
Other people do ayahuasca journeys. We do orange cupcake rallies.
Cupcakes, and that's all there is to it. So to go from this idea that you're everything and that you're source and that you're the source of everything, and you suddenly begin to experience it can be very disorienting because you've believed utter, total, and complete imprisoning bullshit for a lifetime. And it's been reinforced by the school system, educational system, the military system, the governmental systems, the medical system, they're all reinforcing that belief in separation and you believing that you were that thing that you were sure you were. So it's very disorienting. Yay. Now, how do you get to where you feel good being disoriented is actually maybe the question. And the way to do that, so at the end of the second chapter of the book, I go into some breathing techniques, but they're not breathing techniques. So I'll do something very unusual here, Brandon, and tell you about the breathing videos and actually put them in perspective for you. So most of us have heard of breath work, right? Have you done any breath work personally, Brandon?
Very little, but a little.
And you know it exists. Like there's all the prana. Okay, well that's all great, and those things are all wonderful. And you can do a lot of techniques. You can accomplish a lot with breathing. The breathing system that I share is actually how to be alive as a human being. And why would I say something like that? The vast majority of people, according to university studies around the planet, virtually everybody on the planet is breathing less than 12% of their lung capacity chronically. And so our brains are severely oxygen deprived. Our brains are literally not even turned fully on. And that's easily verifiable. And so what happened to you, Kristen, among other things, is in your state of non-optimal breathing, not having all of your systems fully maximized and turned on, you had this shift of awareness and you haven't had that anchoring underneath you. So if you'll go to the second chapter in the book, Break Your Self-Help Addiction, click the link and it'll take you to the breathing videos. And probably within 15 minutes, you're going to find your feet on the ground again without actually losing that expanded awareness that you've gained. And you're going to feel freaking amazing. And then you just use that breathing to stabilize your body and it basically aligns all of your chakras. It brings your hemispheres of your brain back into coherence. It brings your heart and brain back into coherence. It even settles and balances the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to breathe in that way that I share. So that is going to make the difference for you right out of the gate. And you're going to find yourself reintegrating with life really easily.
Very, very cool. So first off, why don't you share with everyone where they can find that book if, in case they haven't listened to the original recording
yeah, of course. Perfect. So you can go to Break Your Self-Help Addiction, all no spaces, no lines, dashes, breakyourselfhelpaddiction.com/PH for positive heads. We set that up for positive head listeners. And you will be able to get the book for free there. You'll be able to download the assessment that helps you to really find out where you're at, really we call it the universal orientation assessment. And then that will also get you set up for all the videos that come with the book.
That's an interesting response. And I'm curious, for Christine, I'm not sure. I think it's Christine or Kristen. Hopefully I'm saying this right. I think it's Christine, but if I'm mispronouncing, forgive me. I would love to hear your feedback after you've done some of those breathing exercises. And it seems like that's something, Brian, that can happen. Where I've heard this kind of thing before, where people will have sort of that breakthrough moment. And a lot of times it does happen with, I know I've had some moments with plant medicines or psychedelics in the past where it's like everything just dissolves into a state of awareness that's just quite different than normal waking life. And I know, of course, I also hear how people have those just, something unlocks something in them, or has another listener I've been, speaking with who had a, spontaneous Kundalini awakening, in the last year, and it's never turned off since, and has been, challenging at times. So it's interesting how there's different. And in her case, she had been meditating a whole lot. twice a day, really healthy diet, that sort of thing. And all of a sudden she had sort of a triggered moment where a lot of anger came up to a family member, and that triggered the awakening, so it's interesting to see like these different ways that people can all of a sudden be blasted open. I think of Eckhart Tolle in his book, Power of Now. He was like suicidal, and then all of a sudden he had this realization of like, I can't live with myself anymore. Well, hold on. If I can't live with myself, who can't live with who? Because that almost implies two people. And all of a sudden it was like, the little emoji with the guy's head blowing up is what you instantly think of, right? Like, and it just threw him into the state of like, all of a sudden everything looked and felt different. And it was just like he went from being on the verge of suicide to, a totally different state. And it seems like even with, the lighter sort of review that we had from G, listening 10 times, the same kind of thing. It's like, there's so many different ways to kind of get to this state. And, you talk about spell breaking, but in a sense, it's also like spell casting, right? Like I am invoking these words with this energy at this time in abracadabra, you are now seeing things through a different lens. And of course that can be shocking, like in Christine's case, right? So, what do you think that is? I mean, what is just your feedback on that thought in general?
Yeah, I love it. So, I can see how logically, you can say, yeah, it's like spell casting in a way, really though, purely, the reason why I call it spell breaking. Well, I was actually helping a client with something, and this was one of these people that had spent, six figures, $500,000, in her 60s, working on herself for 40 years, trying everything. And then we did an hour-long session, and she said, it's like you broke all my spells. And somehow that started this like 4 years ago. Everybody's been calling it spell breaking and calling me the spell breaker ever since. And the reason why that phrase is actually so accurate. All right. We are born, and I'm going to do like a moment or two of orientation to really address that. So we're born into a world where everything's already going. It's like, imagine yourself trying to jump on a train that's going 80 miles an hour. Okay. Right, I don't care how athletic you are, you're going to bruise something or break something.
Oh, you obviously haven't seen me on the track.
Well, you know what? I want to see it. Now that you've said that, do you have any video clips?
They call you the spellbreaker. They call me Cheetah Man. So,
Well, I want to see that, and I'm going to be impressed. I promise you, on my word, I'll be suitably impressed.
I'll send you a video. I promise it's not doctored or photoshopped.
All right. I'm waiting on that one, man. We'll pause the interview now. So, if you try to jump on a train going 80 miles an hour, it's going to be shocking. It's going to be jarring. It's going to be disorienting. And you were born into a world that is barreling. Not only is the planet, going 55,000 miles an hour or whatever, the sun is hurtling at 50,000 miles an hour across the solar system with the Earth. So everything's moving, you could say, physically. And much more important to you, you're born into a family that is involved with cultural, religious, political, geographical, chronological issues that have been going on for a long time. There's a lot of rivers running simultaneously. You're born into that as this perfect, pure, infinite little being, and you immediately start being told what you are and finding all the pain and limitation, and you can't even get a drink without screaming for it, and if you crap, somebody's got to come and change your diaper. You are totally laying there as a victim, a total powerless victim, utterly dependent on everybody else. And so their programming of you is, you have no defense against it. You have no inclination to be defended. And so the amount of programming that we pick up in the first 7 years of life is beyond anything any of us ever thinks about, because we're thinking about it from within the programming that we took on in those first 7 years of life. And so with spell breaking, what I'm literally actually totally doing with every word that I say and every time I look at another human being, I am reflecting, hey, you're an infinite, unlimited, perfect, flawless being of energy in a state of infinite grace, perpetual innocence, and you can actually change anything and everything right now. And that is so freaking far on every dimension of thought and belief and knowing. It is so far from what we've been living that it's freaking jarring. And so I don't tone it down, although I don't project it all the time at everybody. I can look at someone and say, oh, this person's not interested in this at all, and we'll just talk about the weather or a football game or something. I can do that. But for the people we're talking about, Brandon, right there, you guys are coming and listening, and I speak to you listening right now. You come to Positive Head Podcast for awakening. You come here for the different perspective. And so you're kind of inclined, you're coming to this in a different mode than you would go to a football game or sit down in front of the TV if you ever do that. And so you're open and you're ready. And to be inundated with information is one thing. To be inundated with wisdom is another. To be inundated with spell breaking is an entirely different thing. And so it's all those things that you just listed, Brandon, all those possible awakening triggers only intentionally rolled into one arrowhead. And that's what's going on here. And then that breath thing, even your friend that had this Kundalini experience, it's been kind of jarring. You said this was a she, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
If she will begin if she'll begin to really breathe in the way that I show in the book, it's going to integrate like within minutes or hours for her.
Wow.
So yeah, it can make the difference. This is, I was gifted a lot of things when I had that moment of stepping from 46 years of hell on earth into the one infinite unfolding miracle. And the breath has been one of those things that's been so supportive for the people I work with.
Yeah. And, I hear that a lot. It's like, it's one of those things, like I said, I've done very little with breath work, but people who have spent a lot of time and energy exploring that, I've never heard anything but like amazing feedback. And so every time I hear about it, and funny enough, synchronistically, in the Positive Heads Facebook group, someone just posted last night. I'm just remembering this right now. Someone just posted how they started looking into breath work, and maybe based off of, maybe you mentioned it in the last episode, something I can't quite remember, spawned them to look into breath work more. Then they found Wim Hof, who I'm sure you're familiar with. Yeah. And they were just like raving about like their experience in the last few days exploring breath work. So as in typical fashion on the show, there's literally always synchronicities every episode pretty much. It's like, so what are the breadcrumbs pointing to for people at this moment? Breath work. So yeah, I want to go check it out too.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to drop one more nugget on that. So I do a lot of people come out and do 4 days with me in small groups or one-on-one. And I do a lot of group work on the internet. Using Zoom calls and that type of thing. And in one of the recent sessions that I was doing, I had this image come up of a skyscraper. So if it's cool, I'll take a moment and actually give, and I can do this very, very briefly. Unlike a lot of what I do.
Hey, you were not in a major hurry, so whatever it takes.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to give an experience right now to anybody that wants this. So just close your eyes and just envision yourself as a skyscraper. And envision that you are the source of the skyscraper, but you don't have to remember that. And envision that you are the skyscraper, and you don't have to remember that, and you live in the skyscraper. Now, the whole skyscraper is yours, and remember, you're the source of it, and you are it. And you don't have to remember that. You get to just live in it. All right. So here you are living in it. And, how much space do you really need? So you've been hanging out mostly in the basement, and you got a nice room there with a movie set up, and you got a nice audio room, and you got a kitchen, and everything's been okay. And you kind of forget that you're the skyscraper, and you forget that you have the whole skyscraper available to you. And that is where almost everybody's been living, in the basement, until eventually they kind of shrink to where they just, they got like their little can of something to eat and they got a candle and they're just in their little room they've shrunk back into the corner of the basement. When they are the skyscraper, they have the skyscraper. So breathing in the way that I share is kind of like, we have our lizard brain, we have our mammal brain, we have our human brain, we have the prefrontal cortex. Imagine if you were to breathe in such a way that you were to turn on your entire brain again. If these university studies are right, that the vast majority of people are breathing 12 to 13% of their lung capacity, and they are, then you got to realize that would mean that you're not fueling your entire brain with oxygen. Your brain is in a state of basic chronic oxygen deprivation, holding you in a state of chronic fight or flight, whether you know it or not. And if you look, you'll find that virtually everyone is in chronic fight or flight. Almost all of us, even us spiritual people, are nowhere near where we could be. So that is like forgetting that you're the skyscraper. So now imagine something happens like to Kristen or Christine, where, oh shit, what just happened? My whole skyscraper is illuminated and I am like lighting up the sky and everything around me. I don't know what to do. Well, your power source has been reactivated. If you breathe deeply enough to bring what you used to think was oxygen. We don't know what oxygen is. It's infinite, unlimited energy blinking in and out of existence a septillion times per second. We talk about air. We talk about oxygen. We talk about atoms as if we had a freaking clue what any of that meant. We have no clue whatsoever.
We don't know where they come from or where they go to when they're blinking in and out of existence. They're intelligent when they show up here.
Exactly. And so here we are in this space of infinite abundance, which we've been calling air. And then we're breathing in a tiny fraction of what's available to us. And we wonder why we're having such a hard time with abundance when we're in it and we're denying it and not even taking in what's this free stuff and this energy of air, this infinite, unlimited, conscious, living, blinking miracle stuff that can become anything. And if enough of it flows in and out, it can undo anything that you thought you were that are already structures inside of you of emotion, trauma, beliefs, thoughts, ideas. And so I once heard Eckhart Tolle say, one fully conscious breath will do more for you than any seminar you can go to. And that really affected me. And then when I was given this specific way of breathing, that I'll just show you the basics here for this experience. So see your skyscraper right now, really dim. And when I was given the basics of this, it helped to change everything for me, and it helped me to stabilize all the change. So here's the deal. So you breathe in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And then after you do that a few times, just start to make the duration of inhale and exhale about the same. So it's so simple. You're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you know anything about the Bagua, about the switch where the top of your tongue touches the top of your mouth, okay, that switch is now opening and closing, because when you open your mouth to breathe out, the switch opens. When you close your mouth to breathe in through your nose, the switch closes. So that's starting to bring your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system back into the balance from this rhythm. And then you just want to breathe in a little bit more with each inhale, just a little bit more than you normally were. No caricature, no hard work. Just breathe in a little bit more. And then just breathe out a little bit more than you've been breathing out. So here's what we got so far. You're breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. You are making the duration about the same, in as out. And now you're moving a little more airflow than you have been. And then notice if your chest and shoulders are moving at all. And if they are, move it down to your abdomen. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. So I made these videos where I really walk you through how to actually do abdominal breathing, which will make all the difference for you. And suddenly you're actually beginning to get into your entire body as opposed to just being up in your positive head. You're moving down through your neck, through your chest, back into your body, and all your chakras start to hum together again. You feel calmer. You feel more stable. I go much deeper on the videos, but the odds are high just from that little bit. You can feel, wait, okay, this is actually, this. And you continue that, and you're going to see where that leads you to. So there's a little bit of relief for somebody right there.
Yeah, every time I do any deep breathing, it feels so good instantly and throughout my whole body. It makes us wonder,
why are we not doing this, right?
I know.
Why are we not doing this all the time?
I have a friend who reminds me a lot of times because he will constantly just take like really deep breaths, after he talks, and then just like very intentional. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Like, and he's constantly doing it, anchoring himself in and recalibrating himself. And that's a fascinating statistic. The 12%. Like I hadn't heard that. It's and I love the way you tied it. I love the way you tied it into abundance and how everything is a reflection, right? How you do anything is how you do everything. It's like it's always reflecting back, and it's like, hold on, you mean I can breathe in more abundance, in that's symbolic of abundance in every way, shape, or form? Like, sign me up. Like, I think using the word spell break makes me think a little bit of Bashar, who talks about permission slips. And I don't know if you've ever heard him talk about permission slips, and this idea that we are these infinite, eternally abundant divine beings, but we're in the process of reprogramming the way we view and reclaiming the floors of our skyscraper, right? And because we live in this, 3D holographic reality where we've been told all these limitations, even when we become aware, it's like, it's very helpful. It's one thing to become aware mentally, but it's very helpful to have a permission slip. Okay, if I do this, then that makes sense as to why breathing would unlock more abundance, because we just created a story around it, right? Yeah. And so that is essentially what you're doing there, and it's super powerful. I mean, we look at, you're talking about science and, been referencing scientific things. I mean, the stuff that they see with the placebo effect, it ties right into this. It's like, it's a story, and, now the story's been told, you have enough of a foundation of the story, so your mind believes it. And that's really it's like, even when someone knows it's a placebo, Brian, I just saw a study where even when you know it's a placebo, it's still working, like way better than not. It's like justifying our breakthrough, right? Yeah, right. Exactly. So I love all of that you just shared. Super, super powerful.
Well, check this out now. Let's go one step further then. So in reality, if you think about being a fish in a fishbowl, there's so many things that we say in the spiritual world that most people look at and go, yeah, I like that. And then we keep running, right? Yeah. To actually look at this, if you think of a fish in a fishbowl, if you were to try to tell that fish that there's water, it would say, if it could say anything, it would say, what the hell are you talking about? I don't see anything here.
Right.
Well, I'm proposing that air is literally abundance. It is literally abundance. Now, everything is, however, there's nothing in our experience that is as obvious. If we will stop being a fish in a fishbowl, there's nothing as obvious as the air. Because here's the deal. If you look at Maslow's, pyramid, if you look at any system of logic, we can go for X. Breatharians break the rule, so I'm not going to even factor that into this. But you can make it for a long time without clothes. You can make it for a long time without a hug. There's a number of days you're going to make it without food. Okay. Mm-hmm. And whether that's 50 days, 60 days, 70 days, unless you have truly gone through everything to master breatharianism, you're dead after 40, 50, 60 days or less. If you're not in full health, you can make it a few days without water. You can only make it a few minutes without air. So air is actually this incredible, miraculous indicator, because it's the one thing you'll die without first. And it's the only thing that is completely free on this planet. And it just happens to be the one thing that you really never have to think or worry about running out of. It's there and it's ever present. And so I tell you what, I had a crazy realization a while back that I don't diagnose any disease. I won't buy a diagnosis of anything for anything at any time. I know a lot of people believe in asthma. And I was working with people about their so-called money issues, right? Abundance. People keep wanting to tie abundance to money. It has nothing to do with money. It's just a symbol. Well, in a way, you could say that virtually everybody, nearly everybody, has money asthma, because there is no difference between any one energy and any other energy. There's no difference between the energy of money and the energy of air, except for in our minds. And I was like, well, nobody's running around worrying about whether they can get enough air. And then I thought, oh my God, yes, some people do, and they call it asthma. And I have never seen in my own, I'll go out on a limb here, I've never seen anybody yet that was diagnosed with supposed asthma that didn't have childhood trauma affecting their breath. And I have not yet seen anyone who couldn't completely release the illusion of asthma by releasing the trauma before it. It doesn't matter what they think the cause of it was. They're believing that they can't get enough air, and so they're not letting themselves get enough air. Kind of trippy, man.
Wow. Yeah, that is trippy. It's really interesting. You know, that makes me think a little bit of, of course, there's all these people who've done research into past life regression, where, for whatever reason, I've got this issue and no doctor can figure out what it is. Then they tap into either what maybe in this life or even go beyond, relive whatever experience. And all of a sudden that just like completely like poof, gone. It's like, it's dis-ease, right? There's dis-ease from somewhere that you have stored in your DNA, in your body. It's like, and either from this life or carried it forward. That's just like those stories always fascinate me. And just seeing people completely unlocked who nothing in Western medicine could help them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very indicative of where we've come from. So one of my favorite quotes, man. And boy, I've been using this one a lot recently. And it's just it's Rumi or Hafiz or one of the Sufi mystics said, it might have been Tagore, said, I awakened to find that my only tormentor all along was that part of me left over from yesterday. I awakened to find that my only tormentor all along was that part of me left over from yesterday. Wow. And if we're wise and if we want to be free, all we got to do is turn and say, well, I wonder what the heck might be left of me from yesterday. What am I carrying into today that's not actually me now? And that, that's actually the essence of spell breaking too.
Yeah, I love that, man. Powerful.
That's powerful, man.
Powerful. So speaking of spell breaking, so one of the things you will all be delighted to hear that Brian has volunteered to do, because Brian and I, after, I talk to a lot of amazing people, but there's some people that I connect with more than others. And Brian is definitely soul family. Like, you guys hear me talk about how I sense connections between souls, and I definitely had that with him and another one of my very best friends as soon as we met, and we've been talking quite a bit. And so what kind of came up in those conversations was, Brandon, have you ever done any type of a webinar where, someone that you've had on as a guest does their thing, for your people? And I was like, no, I really haven't. And so he has volunteered to actually do a spell break for any of you guys who would like to continue this conversation, would like to go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole. And we're going to do that. What day did we set up, Brian, to do that?
That is next Tuesday, the 20th.
Tuesday, the 20th.
6 p.m.
At 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Pacific, so 9 p.m. Eastern. And you want me to rant on that for a moment?
Just please do.
Know
please,
what
please,
to expect.
Yeah, exactly.
So spell breaking is a what the word that I use for when I'm specifically helping one person with an issue. And now you might have to rein me in on this one, Brandon, because I'll give a few details and I'll do my best not to give too much detail. All right. So I started at age 3, this strange gift. And if you haven't listened to episode 812, listen to that, because I'm not going to tell that story here. I found out that I was able to help pretty much anybody dissolve anything. And it freaked me and everybody else out in my life. And then I started doing it as my business about 8 years ago. And I've worked with over 100,000 people total now through my book and all the other stuff that I've done, speaking around the world. And I was doing these one-on-one spell breaks where I would help someone with one issue and we would dissolve it. And this led to me starting to do group programs. And the first group program that I did, somebody said, well, I want to do a spell break. And I said, well, you're okay doing that in a group setting? And they said, I don't give a damn. I just want this thing gone. And you're here and I'm here. So I did a spell break with them. And we were on Google Hangouts at that time. It was many years ago. And I watched every single person that was on the Hangout with us had a breakthrough while the person I was working with had their breakthrough. And I went, oh, diggity damn, I am on to something here, man. And since then, I've done dozens of group programs with 30, 40 people in them. And I've got this huge library now of videos of spell breaks that I've done on everything from rape to, having your mom die at birth, and like every trauma someone could pretty much go through. I've done spell breaks on those. And it is so mind-boggling to see how in a group setting, everybody who has that intention, who's present and tuned in, has that happen. And so what I had offered and invited to Brandon, I said, man, like your audience is ripe for this. They're loving it. I'm getting so much feedback. What if we did? And by the way, I am going to make a pitch since we're not selling anything here. I'm going to tell you
it's a free webinar.
Yeah, it's 100% free, and I charge $800 an hour now for what I do. And I have people from all over the planet saying, sign me up. I want this. And I do very few. I have so many people now that are doing the 4-day kind of, inner work with me. I do very few single one-on-one spell breaks anymore. I just don't devote much time to it. And for this, we're going to go on live. Right now we got 2 hours allotted for it. And however many people we can help in 2 hours that want to come on. Now, I will just say this to be fair. Sometimes when I start a spell break with someone, I may be inspired to go all the way with them. And I may end up that session that we do, Brandon, will probably teach some, laugh a little bit, have a great time, and go into the spell breaks. It may be that one person shows up with some major issue, and I may work with them for the entire call. That might happen. Okay. I may be able to work with 10 or 15 people depending on how that flows. I can just tell you this. If you show up and you're present and you close out distractions and you tune in and you say, well, this is like I just paid $1,600 for 2 hours of Brian's time, because he's going to be 100% focused on me and I am going to be 100% focused on you. You are going to come away with an experience, and don't be surprised if you get as much out of those couple hours with us as you've gotten out of your self-help and personal development and spiritual journey so far.
Cool. I love that, man. And I know the listeners are going to be excited. I'm excited to go through it.
It's going to be great.
So it's going to be great. So if you guys want to sign up, once again, it's just a free event that Brian has, agreed to volunteer his time. And I felt inspired. It felt certainly in alignment to continue to co-create together. So if you guys want to register for that, it's Tuesday, November 20th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 7 Mountain, 4 in Hawaii, where you're at, right, Brian?
Yeah.
And if you're around the world, I don't know, you got to get it out and do the math or check it out on Google. But so if you want to register for this spell break webinar, you go to positivehead.com /spellbreak. And that's going to take you to the registration page, which you just put your name, email, whatever, which will then send you the links to log in at the scheduled time.
And we're going to have fun. You're going to definitely want to be on time for this. You're going to want to be in a quiet environment as much as you can. If you need to go out in your car and put on your headset, do that. You're going to want to be able to really focus because it's going to be intense. And those of you who want to, who already know, oh wait, I think I might want to step up for one of those spell breaks. I don't know where if you're seeing this on iTunes or whatever, you won't be able to comment. If you're seeing this perhaps in the Facebook group, will you be, you'll be posting this, episode in your Facebook group, Brandon? Is that right?
Yeah. I can, or we can just make a post too. Yeah, we can always share it in the Facebook group, or we can make a post saying, hey, pertaining to today's episode, if you're trying to get people to sort of raise their hand, is that for the
basically
we can make a post in the Positive Heads Facebook group for sure.
Awesome. So where you're seeing that, just go ahead and comment and just say, hey, you know what, I definitely want to be considered for a spell break. If you have any questions, anything you want to make absolutely sure that Brandon and I cover on that webinar, you can type in your questions as well, and we'll make sure to factor those into what we talk about. This is going to be the bomb, and this is the right group of people at the right time. It's a couple days before Thanksgiving. You'll have something to really be going into Thanksgiving grateful about.
Yeah. And now for anyone who maybe doesn't want, well, I guess if they're going to do a spell break publicly, then they would not be worried about posting publicly. I was going to suggest we could have people email and say, I want to do a spell break too.
Totally.
So I don't know if you want to throw out your email address or.
That's fine. Yeah. It's level 5 mentor, LEVEL, the number 5 mentor, MENTOR @gmail.com.
Yeah. So, but I think ideally keeping it on the Facebook group, and if you're gonna be public on the webinar, you're gonna probably not be too shy about raising your hand on the group. So we'll do a post today, Brian, before this is actually released. Or right after it's released, or in conjunction with its release. But anyway, all right, man. This has been awesome. This has been a little bit of a longer run surprise episode, which I kind of expected, and it was everything that I'd hoped it would be. You are a ninja spellbreaker, my friend, and I can't wait to dive deeper down the rabbit hole and continue co-creating with you.
Thanks. I love you, buddy, and I love you listening. We're gonna have a blast together.
Yes, indeed. Love you all so much. Until next time, journey well. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear me constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out.